On the last occasion, we have discussed about the structure of the mind, which is very important to think about the meditation and other activities which we are focusing on. In fact, we are discussing about the effect of mind on our asava and how to rectify it or to minimize it in day-to-day life, reducing our stress level and so on at this stage. Later we have to address the importance of asava control into the level of developing our mental development to reach our more higher expectations. As we have discussed in the last occasion, the human and the machine that is produced by the modern technology to imitate a human being will have a lot of similarities. 5 sense doors, eye, ear, nose, tongue and the body sensation are easily represented in the robo machines driven by AI. In addition to that, physical actions as well as verbal actions, which are again a sort of physical action, where sound is generated. Can be imitated without any problem. In fact, some of the robo machines can exceed the activities of human beings on these areas. But according to Buddhism and many other religions, almost of every religion, that we have a mind. This mind can also take sensations and carry out certain tasks according to Buddhism. Of course, science and the technologies developed through science does not have the concept of mind. But how do they carry out most of the functions that humans do in more or less in the similar way? Actually, activities we carried out through our mind are basically can be two types. Activities that are based on words, or basically data type that represent the entities in general. This information is kept inside the memory. Of course, we humans have a physical counterpart of the memory as well, that is stored in our brain and the neurosystem. That system carries a lot of past data which came to us through our parents, through genes. So the genes inside us represent quite a large number of information that is optimized to carry out the genes to the future. So the trends that proposed by our body has a very strong bias to carry out the genes to the future. In fact, science is working quite hard to find these relationships more and more, and it's taking place at a fairly high success rate as well. But the mind which we are speaking is not the is not a part of the machine. It has a separate identity. Actually, according to Buddhism and some other religions, we carry a memory that carried forward from our previous lives. So when we are born in this world, in addition to the information that is stored in the genes in our first cell, we also will have a past memory that is carried forward from our previous birth. Of course, machines cannot have that component. As time goes on, the experience we gain through this life will also get stored in the memory. Our physical memory, which is stored in the brain, also get modified according to them. In addition to that, our mental memory will also get modified through the experience we get, which are controlled by our past memories as well as the physical memories we inherited from our genes. Actually, it is of interest to look at what technologies do to improve the functions of their humanoid robots. We have 5 bodily sense doors: eye, ear, nose, tongue and body sensations. In the physical world also, there are counterparts which can take this information, which we detect through our eye, ear, nose, tongue and body. But other than that, we carry out 3 types of work according to Buddhism: bodily work, verbal work, and the mental work. Out of them, actually, as we said earlier, physical work as well as the verbal work, or when we speak, or when we do activities, both are related to moving our body parts. So the output seems to be different. The function is more or less the same. We know robots also can carry out this. Humanoid robots can imitate humans in a quite a successful way. But humans are supposed to, or human has the capability to do the work to the mind itself. That part is not defined with the humanoid robots. So, when we say humanoid robots are becoming closer, in certain cases surpassing the capabilities of humans, what they can do is really limited to certain areas. We know our memory consists of information stored as what we call entities in general. Names, nama. And actually, activities we do, kriya, or actions we take, and the background plans which drive these things are also stored in our memory. We know these programs which direct the robots or computers in general are also in the binary system, which is the same system that has stored the data. So, inside our physical memory, we have what we call data that we acquired through our eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body, as well as the programs that we have developed or we have inherited. When we get more experiences, we modify these programs or we create new programs. What humanoid robots do is collect all this information from several human beings and combine it, because using machine power, they can have more faster operations. As an example, when a computer defeated the world chess champion on a chess game, which is supposed to be a game that requires a lot of logic and brain actions, it ran. The Big Blue, if I remember correct the name, computer, this happened some time back, not very recently, was driven by a program that has used the combined knowledge of a lot of chess players in the past. So the collection of these past human experiences put together is definitely more powerful than any individual. So that's what taking place. So when we are speaking about intelligent people or capable people. In general, we are addressing the capability of dividing things into or data into groups and finding similarities, and general our learning is involved with that. So all those things are working on the model based on symbols. These symbols are represented by the binary streams in the computer jargon. So there is a fundamental limitation of all the humanoid models. That is, they will work on the data and programs stored there in memory, stored in their memory, which consists of these binary strings. What computers and robots can do is to carry out them much more faster, more accurately, and on the other hand, human has provided them with a whole heap of data that combine the activities of many humans. That is how they get their power. But on the other hand, I think there is another dimension that we call emotional intelligence. Emotions are generally expressed through our face. That is how psychiatrists and psychologists say. But they are not generated by our mind. They are generated by our body. If you look at emotions are helpful to control the others in the old traditions. Even today, when a person gets angry or when a person gets afraid, other humans and other animals will react to that. So the success of our continuation of genes are based on some of the emotions we have produced. But these emotions also have the names similar to our mental actions in many occasions. Attachment, fear, anger, shame. We know these are basically actions humans take, conscious actions. But there are emotions that will show those signs without thought. As we have discussed some time back, Dajagga Sutta is a very powerful and useful sutta in Buddhist doctrine. When you get afraid, recall the good qualities of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. That idea has been expanded in the Dajagga Sutta. But how do we know we have got afraid? According to Dajagga Sutta, you can know it when your body react to the fear. But this is not conscious fear which we are speaking about. That has happened. When we hear a large sound, generally, we get afraid. Before the consciousness driven fear arises, our body has generated the reaction of fear. So when we get our correction process started, at the time of observing or noticing the reaction of fear from the body, you will be able to eliminate the actual fear when it arises from the mind. So this is a very important fact which you have to remember. Actually, emotions are created by our body and not by the mind. I think when we are looking at particularly the stress control action, that is always associated with the expectation that we have. Some of these expectations may have come through our past experience in this life. Some others we have inherited from our genes. Of course, there can be some trends that must have come from our previous experiences of previous life. As an example, typical Buddhist example is the anger that Devadatta had against the Buddha or even Prince Siddhartha. That did not occur due to an incident in this world after becoming Devadatta in this life. That has a history which was carried forward by a past story. Similarly, some of the other trends, when King Suddhodana says attachment towards of course, Rahul is not his child, but particularly is the successor, son, is coming from the human trend, which requires carrying forward your genes. So there are different theories in biology, and the biologists that speak about this. But some of particularly our emotions, are driven by the genetic-driven parameters. Some others from the previous memory-related experiences. On top of that, when we acquire additional experiences in this life, that also can affect the memories related to emotions in our life stored in the brain in a memory form. So I think that what we are interested here is to know that whatever the experience we have recorded in our brain and some part of the memory related to our past experiences are attempting to control us. At that time, our body, as well as the mind, or chitta part of the mind, may support it if they have the common interest. But we have to be careful. The person called I is neither the body driven by genes or the chitta part of the mind, which we generally think is our guide. We have to be careful. Chitta can have some positive trends when we are trying to do something which we are familiar with. If chitta is not part of our chitta part of the mind is not as it is not the person called I, we should not always listen to it. Sachitta Pariyodapanang Dhamma Pata very clearly explains that. In addition to mind and the chitta part of the mind and the body, we have a inner level of mind, which we can call generally is the inner part of the mind. So these two type of force created by our genes acting through the body and the past history acting through our chitta part of the mind, both has to be controlled. But there is a third force that can influence us as well. That is the external environment. External environment is another force in addition to our body, in addition to our chitta part of the mind. External environment of the body and the mind can also influence us. Although it has not been highlighted very clearly, it is said in Buddhist stories that sometimes this force operates through our dreams. They can be some other beings. In fact, we are expecting a positive feedback or positive instructions from the external environment through Shraddha, from the Triple Gem, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. That route should be open, or that door should be open for us to attain Nibbana. But we don't have a clear-cut way to identify whether we get the instructions from a positive force or negative force. So we have to be careful about it, but always we have to keep that door open, because we cannot reach the instructions from Triple Gem unless we have Shraddha, unless we are open. So any person who wanted to attain Nibbana through the Shravaka Bodhi should definitely have Shraddha Indriya developed. So that is, we should be open to outside source, but on the other hand, as Buddha says, himself has said, we have to be careful when we get the instructions, whether it is giving positive results. I think we have given a basic idea that we have discussed this on several occasions, but the three types of, particularly the interfaces we have the inner belief of having a life, a person, which is surrounded by three types of forces. One is our body, which represents the interest of the genes. Our chitta part of the mind, which represents our past habits. Both of them are not going to help us towards our liberation. Sometimes chitta part can help us to achieve the mental peace under stress conditions. The third part is the external support which we seek through the triple gem. And still that in that area also we have to be careful whether it is coming from the real source of triple gem or some other external being is trying to mislead us. So these three doors, probably these three channels are there. If you are looking at a mind model for our liberation or even to control our stress, we have to keep an open mind with regard to these three forces that can act on us. I think we'll stop it here. We may have to particularly elaborate on this with time.